Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the AM4U stage. We have the next expert insight for you, and it's a really interesting topic because we have already several times in our presentation the topic that in order to get AM to the next level, there needs to be more cooperation between the market participants. Especially in international comparison, it's important to join forces in order to keep the speed of development high. Our next expert insight will deal with this issue. Join me in welcoming our speaker for this topic, Mr. Chris Binon, General Director of FLAM 3D, on the topic Money and Time, why we need pan-European cooperation on additive manufacturing. Chris, I hand over to you. We're excited to hear your speech.
Right, thank you very much, and thanks for the very nice introduction. And good afternoon to all of you, and thanks for being here with me today. Indeed, a bit of, let's say, considerations when it comes to European cooperation, where we stand now and where we could or should be heading. Now, at first, perhaps the question, do we need pan-European cooperation on additive manufacturing? Do we actually need more? Because in fact, if I go looking at this website of Cordis, the community on R&D, innovation in services, I just Googled 3D print, their projects or the current projects on 3D printing in Europe. The result is no less than 7,432 projects on 3D printing. So, hey, do we need more of these projects in Europe? Well, then I would like to say, when I'm talking about more cooperation in the EU on additive manufacturing, I'm not necessarily talking about more projects on additive manufacturing. So that being said, why do I think that we need more of this pan-European cooperation? And for one way of looking at it, there is the issue of smart specialization. Now, I do read quite a few national agendas or national roadmaps or regional roadmaps on additive manufacturing. And then when I look at their smart specialization section, they all look exactly the same. That's not what David Ricardo meant when he was talking about smart specialization 300 years ago, right? And that is, I think, why we indeed need to look into, well, real smart specialization. And we can't do that unless that we cooperate, unless that we actually look into this matter together. Thinking about these 7,000 and so on projects, it's not like we have a lack of projects. It's that we actually need more smart specialization and looking into what actually do we do together or not. I think that's a very important reason why indeed we should be cooperating in that sense. Now, the second issue is that, well, we can't deny it, there is actually still quite a bit of work to do when it comes to additive manufacturing. The work isn't done yet. We can't say we're a mature industry yet. When I look purely at the technology, and we do see it evolving each year, of course, but yes, we can still improve. For example, on the cost per part, I think that's basically the basics. Why do you apply 3D printing? That's because the cost per part is right for what you want to achieve. And there we see multiple innovations, and we still need to keep on supporting those innovations, that's for sure. Secondly, there's, of course, we all know that, a lot to do about quality. And then there will be many people here at the fair saying, look, oh, no, but our quality is within specs, or the dimensional accuracy is just like injection molding, or things like that. So, sure, quality is getting under control, and some of them are particularly good at it, that's for sure. But I'm also here talking about the cost of quality. We're not yet at a level whereby you can just take out things out of the printer and say, here, dear customer, that's it. The quality is exactly what you need. There's a cost involved. You need to check it. You need to have it controlled. And quite often, it's still a product that needs to be analyzed and not a process. But we're taking steps into that. Now, as for automation and integration, and I'm very glad to see here at the show that there are many of, well, a movement towards this integration and automation. And I think indeed that also will lower the cost per part again. I think AM Flow is a very nice a movie explaining exactly that, how this integration allows you to diminish the cost per part. But that's still work to be done. And instead of working with the 7,432, I learned it by heart by now, projects, we need to look at how can we divide the work better. Because a bit of duplication isn't bad, of course. A little bit of even competition in R&D isn't bad, of course. But now my impression is really that we're doing too much of the same, and actually in that sense wasting a bit of time and money. So that's another reason to look into that. But then I thought, interestingly, that's what we perceive from the additive manufacturing world that has to be done. We need to improve the cost per part, we need to improve the quality, etc., etc., etc. For sure. But last year, we actually asked about 160 companies, end user and potential end users, why are you not using additive manufacturing? What do you have to overcome to actually start applying additive manufacturing? And let's have a look at the number, well, let's first have a look at 4, 5, 6. It's only there that they start talking about things like quality and cost per part and things like that. The number 3, I think, is very interesting. First, lack of internal expertise and know-how on additive manufacturing. Perhaps we'd like to, but we don't know. We don't know enough about the topic to actually say if we need it, if we can do something with it. Number 2, I will skip. Number 3, yeah, we don't have a business case, or it's not a clear business case. Well, for me, actually, not seeing the business case only has to do, of course, with knowledge, with expertise on the technology. As soon as you have enough expertise, you can, maybe not always, but you will be able at least to see the business case. Now, and once you see a business case into something, investment isn't an issue anymore. If you know you're going to make money with making that product by 3D printing, and you already calculated that the cost for the machine for making that is so much, and it's in your business model, the investment isn't the issue anymore. So I also link number 2 directly to actually knowledge on additive manufacturing. So again, we could ask like, oh, so Europe isn't doing enough on education in additive manufacturing. So I did Google that one as well, with the keywords 3D printing and education and courses, and no less than 5,765 projects actually have that tags in their project. So I don't think we're missing projects there. I don't think there is a lack of initiatives, but again here I think there is a lack of real cooperation, of real thinking on what we should be doing together. Thirdly, or another reason you could say why we need to work more together on this European level is because we need money, don't we? We all do. But good money. I think it was last year, and I heard a few actually of our members. We're a membership-based organization in the Benelux. They actually told me like, okay, I want to expand. My business is going well, I'm a printing service, I just need to get the next SLS machine or HP machine or whatever. I need to bring it in. And the banks don't know it, and what they don't know, they don't trust. They don't want to give me a loan. I'm kind of stuck. And so they keep on looking actually for this extra push that they need to keep on growing. That's one thing that is hampering us, and so there is actually a potential of us explaining to the world, hey, what is it? What can you do with it? Where is your cost per part? Where is your business model in it? Also to the banks. I'm not only talking about banks here, but for example, I'm also thinking about well, again, examples that I see of just, what was it? Yeah, 3 years ago. A government that gave funding, significant amount of funding, to a startup company that was about to make an FDM printer with no specific USP. So the government just gave money to a company to do something that so many of us are actually already doing, which is, I think, to come to the title again, a waste of time and money. So there also, I mean, we must use this wisely because there is an enormous amount of money available, let's say, on project work, but it must be spent wisely. So apart from banks or project possibilities, etc., there's also, of course, another thing, and here I must thank the friends of AM Power. I suppose many people already know AM Power, and those who don't, I really would say go visit them. They're in D122 in Hall 12.0. They have a lot of knowledge on these topics, but this one has also to do with money. If you look at startups in different regions in the world, we're not doing too bad here in Europe with 49% of the startups that they found. That's not too bad, right, on a world scale. But if you then look one slide on to the amount of money they actually are able to get in to fund their startup, let's go back. And back. 49%, 21%. We have to work together to attract those guys who are willing to invest and say, hey, in our region something is going on. We need you to be here. And of course, there's more and more happening there. And we know, well, there's a few good examples in that sense. But there's more to it. And we need to speak with one voice. This is the region, because we're smaller than many regions in the world. It's just a couple of hours flight from the one side to the other. Come here, come and have a look. We have something on offer. And that's also, I think, why, again, we need this cooperation. Now, furthermore, another reason that I see indeed to get on with this cooperation and to actually do something more together is because, and we all know that one, Europe is at the same time fragmented and united. Of course, it's one region. There's a lot of laws being made at the European level, a lot of things when it comes to machine building, etc., that we all have to work towards and to work on that according to the same standards, according to the same levels. But at the same time, there are different regulations on a local basis. There's the international cooperation is quite often very fragmented. In Belgium, for example, we don't only have a national authority which is responsible for international cooperation, but we have got regional ones as well, of course, and we have 3 regions. So that brings a bit of extra work together. Also on that level, I think not everything has to be united, not everything has to speak with one voice, but we have opportunities there. I think we have opportunities there to actually go together as a community to a higher level, to a European level, and to sell that idea of, hey, we are actually not doing that bad, aren't we? So, that's another one. And then lastly, and something we sometimes do forget in our business, it's not about additive manufacturing. Additive manufacturing is a means to an end. It's something which allows you, in European terms, a key enabling technology, allows you to actually be more competitive. And that's always a story that I'm telling to every company or SME or whatever that I'm encountering. It's about your bottom line. It's about improving your competitiveness as a company. And in Europe, well, I wouldn't say we're losing it, but we are seeing a world which is in many aspects just as good or better than we are, right? Economic-wise, apart from other things, of course they are better than us. But economically, well, there's regions that are as good or better schooled than we. There's regions who have anyway cheaper labor than us, etc., etc. So what's our USP? How will we do it? Anyway, one of those things that you have to keep into account, of course, is at least let's not run behind. Let's keep up with the speed. Let's keep on improving this bottom line for our customers and keep on improving their competitiveness. And additive manufacturing is one tool to do that, or one tool that allows us to do that. For me, I think personally that's an important point. That's yes, we're all passionate about additive manufacturing, but there's more to it. There is a next level to it that we do have to keep into account, and that is bringing us further. And that we can do on the level of, on the European level, I think, better than all separately. Now, seeing all these arguments and these reasons why we should actually be cooperating a bit, to me, they all have to do, in the end, as I already mentioned a few times, with money and time. Basically, it's about spending our money wisely. It's about spending our time wisely. And since anyway, time is money, it comes to the same thing, doesn't it? So that's, I think, also a reason to actually do this together. So in a pan-European cooperation on AM, it's not about doing everything together and doing only one vision or only one direction or dividing the cake really into separate chopped parts per region or things like that. No, but it could be about working on one vision, more vision, on division of tasks, on indeed the smart specialization, because there are some smart specialization regions in our area, and about having, on some topics, an approach, a plan, a direction we can go to and actually make this thing better. A bit of, make America great again? No, make Europe stronger on the field of additive manufacturing. So this one, for me, is actually a call to action. Not only to Europe, not only even to organizations like ours who are basically dealing in the field with networking and bringing supply and demand together, but I think to all of us to actually think like, okay, we need to win this game. We need to be on top. So we need to lobby, we need to advocate for a common strategy, and let's go for it. And I think that will help us a lot, and it will make it much more reasonable, the outcomes versus what we're actually spending on it all. Now, that being said, I'm guilty as well. We just recently started a European project. I'm sorry. It's a big one. I just want to introduce it as well because it actually does go in that direction. It's a 35-party program from all over Europe with about, I think, 16 million to spend, starting in January. And we did actually depart from this bottlenecks, these technical bottlenecks that we see, that we all know, by the way. And we started looking at not 3D printing, but at the end there, optimization of production. That's what it's about. It's not about 3D printing, it's about optimizing our production. It's about this bottom line. Using, in our case, because that's the only thing we know something about, 3D printing. It's by 3D printing. It's not a 3D printing project, it's about the potential user who might benefit from additive manufacturing. So we identified these bottlenecks, and that's what we're going to work on in a couple of concrete solutions. For example, on the 3D metal printing, lots of steps taken there already, but sure, there is room for improvement, isn't it? Tools and molds, imprinted electronics for plastics in there. Production lines, the integration and the automation, which we're looking into at this case, or in this case specifically for the dental industry, dental implants, dental aligners, and then automated production line for high mix. You will notice there is not just low volume there, because of more and more we're moving into high volume, aren't we? Those are the solutions that we're working on, and then one step further, we're looking at this leveraging of the potential, this snowballing and leveraging of the additive manufacturing. In other words, one step beyond. So who's thinking about madness right now? One step beyond? It is a bit of madness that we're actually doing. But we want to go further. Not just about this dental implants or dental aligners, but much that we will discover there will be copyable to other SMEs, to other opportunities. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to involve other SMEs. We want to support other SMEs, and not just by putting it on a website and saying like, hey, there's a website with information on 3D printing. No, we really want to involve them in there. And that's actually combining with these challenges that we saw. It's about really getting people into it and explaining to them how we can use additive manufacturing. At the same time, when deploying it, when impacting it, when sustaining it, it is also about the money. It's about, okay, we need to tell the world that there is actually something going on here, and we will find, or we will really go looking for additional investments for these companies, for these startups, and for these scale-ups involved, not only in the project, but also the ones that we will pull into the project. And of course, and that's the last part there, we will start a movement, a trusted community. Well, with 35 partners, we do have a head start, of course, but we want to build on this through also initiatives like Vanguard Initiative, etc., to come to a real, more pan-European cooperation. That's not the end point. This project won't solve anything, but I really want to remain to this call to action to actually go out there and call people to action to make sure that we work together on a European level. Now, I've said enough, I think, because I can talk for long, but as Walt Disney already said, the way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. I hope we can work on this together in the future, and for sure we'll be seeing each other again. Thank you.
Applause. Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Any questions from the audience here on site to Chris? Any remarks? Awesome, then. If not, I would ask at least a few questions.
Sure.
I mean, I mentioned before, it's quite interesting for me because we tackle this topic quite often during the days here at Formnext. What about cooperation? Ralf Andohstedt from Daimler Truck and Buses mentioned this morning he sees hindering the cooperation is sometimes not sharing secrets and not sharing too much. How do you experience that in your organization if the market participants come together, and how openly, how frankly they are speaking about their innovation and cooperation?
It's an issue for sure, but it's actually very funny that you ask it because I'm a bit in a special position. We have NDAs with all our members, and we're a membership organization, and so they tell us quite often much more. And then, for example, 2 weeks later, we meet somebody and we see a potential fit there. Like, hey, wait, you could actually be working with that guy. But of course, we can't tell it to the other guy, like, oh, he's doing that. But we can easily return to the one guy and saying, like, hey, you might want to talk to that guy because they're working on that and that's not a secret. And then that can really help a lot. But I suppose that's a bit of an exceptional situation because indeed, in most cases, when you really work on projects, then you have an issue. Although I think that the secret might be actually just to put not all the competitors next to each other, but think in value chains. As long as you think in a value chain and everybody in this chain has a different role and has something to offer to one another, they will much more easily share. And then you get to real business also.
Now you're responsible for a specific region, and how does this connection, because we are talking about a cooperation on a European level, so is it more like that you with your organization talk to organizations like VDMA, or are you approaching directly industry partners in other countries in order to get this vivid?
Well, we're more demand-driven in a sense. We generate demand in the market and we hope to connect it to the supply side. So we don't go hunting elsewhere, let's say. But we do feel the need indeed to tackle some issues on a European level. And then indeed, I mean, I know the colleagues from the Danish AM hub, and I know the colleagues from the Swiss and Austrian, and yeah, so we do talk together, and I do hope that we're moving in a direction whereby also we, because I think as organizations we should also be looking at what can we do, can actually combine these strengths, and then indeed give a bit of an example to the companies to do the same where appropriate, of course, because it's still about business.
And now let's change the perspective finally in order to get this all rounded off. If I talk to our industry partners, they tell me we are already only thinking in an international model. It's no longer about it's just us in our specific region. And I think this applies to Belgium as well, to the Benelux. I mean, they're multinational, like material, multinational companies. Aren't there like a step ahead compared to the organization that is focusing on a region? So how does that fit together?
Sure. you're totally right. You got me there. No, you're totally right. There's definitely, like I say, your estimate is as good as mine. 10 to 20% of this additive manufacturing companies who are totally global and globally active, and there, compared to them, we're lagging behind because they're not interested in these regional small markets, so to say. But that still leaves us 80 to 90% of additive manufacturing companies who are, well, or active locally or trying to break out, or both. And so there is still room for help there, or for support on that level.
Awesome. I'm so happy that you had been here. In my opinion, it's a super important topic, and not only for region. As you just explained, it's more like, in my opinion, I'm totally with you, we need a pan-European cooperation here, very much stronger, more detailed, more open, in order to push our business in the right direction and to be competitive to other regions as well. So I highly appreciate your speech. Thank you so much. A final big applause for Chris. It was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, before we keep on going with our next expert insight, we want to provide you with the current news of additive manufacturing. So please enjoy our Formnext news the next 8 minutes, followed by a highlight. And then I promise you, we go into a deep dive in another very exciting topic. So please stay tuned, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much.